And welcome back to episode 180 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Karl.
We should do a darts reference here, shouldn't we? 180!
Is it Bully, wasn't it?
It was, yes,
Bully
a classic British game show of Bullseye. If you have no idea what we're talking about, go to YouTube, put Bullseye Game Show in, and we'll leave that there. So we're back this week for the latest roundup of the tech stories. And we've got a bit of a mixture this week. We've got OpenAI, we've got Sony and the Concord game, not playing. I should make sure there's a misquote there. Elon Musk and the Brazil X ban. That sounds dodgy when it isn't. Bluetooth and the Tech Wrap Rumour Mill is back with an NVIDIA rumour this week. But before we get started on all of that, this time next week, the Apple event will have been done and dusted, won't it? We will know where we are.
This time next week, I'll probably pre-order an iPhone by that point.
Well, I'm hoping so. Absolutely, yeah. We should be in pre-order mode. I'm guessing. I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm guessing they'll do the event Monday and we'll have pre-orders Friday. That's my thoughts.
I think so, and delivery the Friday after.
That would be awesome if it is. So 16 Max Pro Max, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A terabyte of storage.
In brown.
In brown.
No,
not a terabyte of storage. Can't afford that.
No, half a gig. I told you before.
Maybe 512. I might have to push to.
You need to go to 512. We had this conversation offline the other day, and you asked me what I was on, and you showed me, and it was like you're on the 256, and I was on the 512, and you were a bit like, maybe I should.
I think get the next 230 or 240. I was like, oh man, I'm running out of space.
Definitely. On slightly different news, did you see that DJI this week have announced a brand new mini drone?
I saw a brief bit of it on Twitter last night. Someone mentioning it in kind of passing, kind of thing. But I hadn't taken too much notice because it was just another DJI drone. Well, until you mentioned it just before, and we saw the price, and I was like, "Wow!"
Yeah. So this is the DJI Neo, and it's designed for vloggers basically. So it's got AI tracking. It's 135 grams. It can take off from the palm of your hand. Does 4K video, and totally enclosed propellers. So it's easy to fly. But you can buy one with just a battery and propeller guards for £169.
I know it's not coming with multiple batteries or a case or a controller. I presume you can use your phone for that. You don't need the controller. But yeah, 169. Did you say that's
for ridiculous. A 4K DJI drone that has multiple control options, does the tracking, is going to have the fly safe stuff. You know all that. If you've got if you want to spend $299, you get the RC3 controller, 3 batteries, double way charging port, and propeller guards.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be making a loss on this.
Possibly so,
surely.
But I had a look at the picture, and the RCN3 remote controller looks very similar to the controller I've got for my DJI Mini 2.
I've got the one with the screen built in, but I can't remember what it is. It'd be interesting to see whether it actually works for those.
Well, it says
what's the spec for the transmission stuff? Is it?
I don't know. Well, it says multiple. It says they support multiple control options. So apparently, it can use the goggles. It can use all of that kind of stuff.
OcuSync or something like that. The stuff they use on the bigger drones, the transmission tech.
Yeah, I think it is OcuSync on the bigger ones, isn't it? I'll be honest with you. I haven't delved deeply into the transmission. Yeah. But clearly they're so cheap. They expect that you're only allowed to buy 3 of these things on your own.
Are you really?
Yeah, and it does say you can use it with your phone, as you clearly pointed out.
Yeah.
So it works on Wi-Fi and the DJI Fly app, and so virtual, customized tracking angles, distance. And basically, it looks to it, and apparently it will also do voice control with Hey Fly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it does support the RCN3, RCN2, the RC2, and it has a 10K video transmission distance.
Okay, well, it's got 10K. It's probably using OcuSync or something.
Must be, yeah.
Or maybe the OcuSync 2 or something like that.
I mean, do you know what? I'm almost tempted to buy one at that price.
I know, it is very tempting.
But I've already this week...
The first-person goggles on it. If I crashed it wouldn't really matter too much.
No, exactly. Though I have to say, I did make a purchase this week of a bit of sim kit. I bought Wing PTO, which is the panel takeoff 2. I haven't got it plugged in or anything yet, but it is a tasty bit of kit that basically looks like a panel off an F-18 that gives you the landing gear selector, flaps, parking brake, jettison controls, and it feels and looks lovely. It really does. It's a solid bit of kit. My first proper, I guess, sim panel, if you will.
You'll be moving all your stuff to a single desk soon and building a sim rig,
I was going to say
pit in your corner in your office.
It's probably going to go that way, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. The photos you sent me made it look really, really nice, and that win-win. They make some very nice, reasonably priced kit for sim rigs.
It does, and do you know what though? I mean, obviously this is not, it's not full on like it's just come out of an aircraft cockpit, but it's got the real, motions that you'd expect from an aircraft cockpit. So you got to pull or twist. There's gated switches. Some of them are metal, some of them are more plastic feel, but it feels good quality. I mean, obviously I've not yet used it in the game, DCS that is, and probably flight sim to a degree, but it does feel and look a quality product. So looking forward to getting my hands on that properly later. So on that point then, we probably should kick off with the first story of the week then, which is a bit of a weird one. So there are rumors that OpenAI is close to bankruptcy, which sounds bizarre given the amount of capital investment that it's had from its backers. And there are rumors that they could be in the brink of bankruptcy within the next 12 months with a projected loss of over $5 billion. Now, I don't know about you, but part of this I feel there's something missing here.
Yeah, no, I can imagine 100% that they are burning through cash. Just the cost of running all those GPUs and CPUs and stuff for that, let alone the costs for your engineers, because they were paying a lot of money for their software developers, weren't they? And the share options you get. So I can imagine they are hemorrhaging cash, even with all the investment they've had. But I think we and you talked before, all startups basically hemorrhage cash to start off with.
Yeah.
While they build stuff up, get sales motions underway, and start bringing in orders. But I suppose there's that fine line of getting to the actual profitability part before you run out of money borrowed.
I think so. And I think, clearly here, OpenAI needed that massive investment, particularly from Microsoft. And it's rumored now that Apple and Nvidia are apparently going to be in this next round of funding.
Again. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Microsoft again.
Yeah.
But Microsoft, which would put them apparently into a market cap of over $100 billion. Now, don't forget, they're a private company, not a traded company. So you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. But your point's right. Every time you go on to ChatGPT or you use something that leverages ChatGPT, the cost of running that prompt is massive. That data center, the power, the compute is phenomenal, isn't it? It's not, it's not a small data center. These are massive, massive data centers. And we know, that those NVIDIA cards that they're running, or sorry, those compute units, I should say, rather than a card. It's not a card. That's playing it down a bit, isn't it? Yeah. They're tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably in most cases, that they're running there.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're buying ChatGPT, is it called ChatGPT Pro or whatever?
Yes, but it's
or at $20, £20,
which I was, yeah.
I suspect even if you're a medium to heavy user on that, they're not making any money out of you.
No, you're probably helping to increase that what they want, and so I now pay for Claude, Anthropic, because I feel I'm getting better results of that. I'm still using the free version of ChatGPT now and then to help. But anyway, they've just released their enterprise version of it, which has got enterprise pricing. And of course, both of them have got an API. And what they want, though, is these enterprise accounts, because if you can get the enterprise accounts with recurrent large billing, team billing, and then use the APIs, that's where they're going to start to really build the revenue. Because you and me subscribing at $20 a month isn't really going to do masses. They need the larger multi-subscriptions to get that ARR or annual recurring revenue. And obviously the deals with people like Apple as well, where they're doing the licensing deals, again, it's what they want, isn't it? They want to be like Google, like we were talking about the other week, obviously Google being embedded as a search engine. OpenAI wants to be your AI engine, doesn't it? And embed that within the solutions. But yeah, it's not cheap at all.
No.
So this story broke. Apparently there was it the Information apparently broke this story the other week, saying that last month, I apologize, saying that OpenAI is going to lose $5 billion this year, may run out of cash in 12 months. And apparently, it has been suggested that ChatGPT costs up to $700,000 a day to run.
Wowza.
And what we've seen is talk of, these companies, Microsoft particularly as well, is looking how to they can build their own AI chips, isn't it? That's the other thing here. How can they save money? And one of those things is building their own socks to to take advantage of the new improvements rather than having to, I guess, continually invest in Nvidia. And again, that's one of the things we've seen in the last week or so was the Nvidia stock has tanked, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because they're back. They took a bit of a hit earlier in the week, and that was around a couple of reasons really. One of it was around an antitrust piece, wasn't it, that they causing issues in the market, but also there was talks around other companies starting now to invest in building their own AI chips. I think
we talked about
Tuesday,
one last week, didn't we?
Well,
talked about ARM was working with an Israeli startup called is it New Reality on the SR1 hardware.
That's right.
Aim making it 9% cheaper than doing it the same job on Nvidia GPUs.
Yeah, and I think it was Tuesday this week. Nvidia had like nearly over $250 billion wiped off their market cap.
That's insane.
And that unfortunately has pulled down the rest of the tech market as well, because you have a knock-on effect there. I mean, I'm not suggesting that the information is wrong here. They've obviously got credible. They've obviously got credible sources,
there, isn't there?
Yeah, that they are. But what I think, this is the concern is that in the industry, that AI is well, I'll rephrase that. Is AI the .NET bubble of the 2000s? Like we had, and in which is it going to come crashing down? Not because the technology is not great and we're not using it, but the business model
and the business model,
the business model is unsustainable.
Yeah. It's a distinct possibility. Could you see it crashing in the next year or two? Maybe. I think if the costs of running it don't come down, I think we'll hit a tipping point.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come crashing down. I think we may get to a point where the free services get pulled, and
then it
we end up
a business tool.
We end up with
consumers won't use it. Consumers won't pay for it. They become too accustomed to paying for nothing.
Yeah, the only way as a consumer you're going to get it is through Microsoft or something like that, where you've already paying for another service where it's embedded, like Copilot or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously Apple Intelligence being another, but I'm not suggesting, I think, there's always the adage, isn't it? Oh, they're too big to fail, kind of, we have that with some companies, don't we? They're too big to fail.
Yep.
And I think perhaps with OpenAI, there is a little bit of that, because for Microsoft and Apple and Nvidia, as the three suspects here, they need OpenAI.
Well, yeah, Apple have built Apple Intelligence a lot of it around ChatGPT for the larger queries.
Yep.
Mind you, they're not showing it as ChatGPT as such, are they? It's not.
No.
It's very hidden and white labeled, so they could replace it with something else down the line. Maybe it's
and do you know what?
It's someone else's.
Would you? And I would never be. That wouldn't surprise me, because that's Apple all over.
No, exactly. So we had the same with mapping, didn't we? They used to use Google Maps until Apple Maps was good enough, and then that became the default.
Yeah, and actually, in a funny kind of way, the latest version of Apple Maps, in some respects, trumps Google Maps. In my own experience, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
you had that experience as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, when Waze decided to dial me, but that was probably my fault. I was running iOS beta, an early beta, and trying to get.
We won't talk about that.
But Apple Maps to the rescue, and it just worked seamlessly. And it also put directions up in my HUD on the car, which I wasn't expecting, because I've used Waze all along, and that Waze doesn't do that. So I need to remember to use Apple Maps a bit more.
I haven't tried that, but I think again, Nvidia also don't want to see OpenAI drop, because again, probably if not one of their largest customers.
Yep, definitely.
So there's definitely there's a reason here to ensure that they stay floating, but the business model has to change. And I think I don't know if you've seen the hiring from OpenAI, but they are aggressively hiring across all areas of that business. They are, trying to mature the business into a sales organization. I've seen that with so many job openings across the globe. They really are.
Rumor is they're offering very, very attractive packages.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But it's are you what they're looking for? Competition is exceptionally high to work there.
Yep.
So I guess if you tick the box, then great. If you don't, then it's another pie in the sky. Isn't
I'm
it?
not sure I tick the box. So
perhaps not. No.
No.
So so I guess we'll keep an eye on this, but there's definitely rooms here. Now, if they do go for another funding round, that will obviously be something that will not escape the media.
Exactly.
And apparently, so they need to get past the $3.5 billion they've rumored to have made already in revenue. Now, that's not profit; that's just revenue.
Yep.
And if if they're burning through, billions of dollars on training and billions of dollars on staffing, they're going to have to find a way to plug that gap, aren't they? Pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely.
So what have we got next then?
Oh, this has not been
Concord.
Good. Is it good few? It's called Concord, but not been a good few weeks for Sony. So I had vaguely heard about this when it launched. Okay, and this is probably the shortest-lived hero shooter game in memory. So this came out. Sony released this for PlayStation and PC back on the 23rd of August. So 2 weeks ago. They've now, within the last couple of days, announced they will be removed from sale immediately and be taken offline on September the 6th.
Oh.
All players will receive a full refund. The launch was a bit of a disaster. Not for technical issues. It just seems they didn't get player engagement. So analysts have estimated they sold fewer than 25,000 units. And it peaked at only 697 concurrent players on Steam.
Oh, no.
Which is a death knell for any kind of live, shoot 'em up game. Obviously, we don't know PlayStation numbers because Sony don't release that kind of stuff. But I think I know what the problem was.
Go on.
Well, if you want to play, say, Fortnite or Apex Legends or COD Warzone, how much do you pay?
Okay, yeah. I see where you're going with this.
Free.
Yep. I see where you're going with this.
Concord is $40.
And it looks, I looked at the video of that gameplay.
Yeah.
And it looks like Fortnite, if you will.
And that's
that
what I mean.
Style of cartoony gameplay.
Better. It's a cartoony. I don't think it offers anything new. And to get people to spend $40 to have a punt on it.
And again, I'm only going by the videos I've watched. It just looks like the same game mechanics, squad-based warfare, pick up a weapon, do what you need to do, etc., etc. It doesn't look like, say, Black Ops.
No. So if I want a cartoony one, I can go to Fortnite or Apex Legends. If I want something a bit more gritty and real, I can go to COD Warzone and still pay nothing really for it. But Sony apparently spent 8 years developing this.
8,
and I'm presuming a significant amount of money to keep a studio going for 8 years to build this. But
who signed off on that?
I don't know. But Sony and Firewalk Studios have put out a statement saying they recognise that certain aspects of the game experience and launch did not meet their intended goals.
You don't say.
It tanked 697 concurrent players on Steam.
That's terrible. That's absolutely
I suspect
terrible.
It's more on PlayStation because it's a Sony title, but I'm guessing not a lot more.
No, and you're right. I think you're absolutely right. That style of gameplay currently are free-to-play games with in-app purchases, aren't they? And whilst I'm not a fan of that business model personally, all those games
massively,
they are profitable.
Massively profitable.
They do well because people buy into that whole. I really want to level up, or I must have that latest skin. I don't know. I'm probably completely wrong.
Yep.
But you're right. If I've got to fork out, $40, $40, whatever, straight up front, I want something for my money. And clearly, you're right. This didn't give anything better than what those games already are offering.
And if you already had an established, title like Fortnite, and say Fortnite 2 comes out, and it's a million times better, but they want you to pay 20 quid up front, that would probably work. But there was no, This isn't Concord 2. Concord 1 wasn't a success. There's nothing to lean back on there.
No. Yeah, it's a very odd thing, and I think it was in that story on IGN. As you said, the 697 concurrent peak. They had they compared that with Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League,
which was a terrible game.
Which exactly, it's terrible reviews. Even the studio said it was terrible, and cost the studio $200 million. Had over 12,000 concurrent players at peak. And that's a game that. So it's like, it clearly must have been absolutely awful to have done that.
It is. I mean, okay, I'm going to take my hats off to Sony for finally releasing a game on more than just a PlayStation at once. Because quite often you'll get it on a PlayStation and it won't come out on PC for months or years later. So great that you brought it out day one, released on PC and PlayStation. I know there was no Xbox, but hey. But that was the only good part of it.
Oh yeah, I tell you, it's Sony just don't seem to be able to get.
I don't
things
get
right,
them recently. I just don't understand how they're operating.
No, I don't.
Because it does feel like one disaster after another.
It does, and I think that's the issue they've got now, isn't it? They are.
But I suppose they're living on all their fans, aren't they? But how much more will the fans put up with this before saying it's just not worth it?
Well, yeah, there is. You're right. There's going to be absolutely be a point where you're going to be like, "We're done here," aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not great at all. But if you did purchase that, at least you're getting your money back, I suppose.
You are indeed. So, talking of done here, that could be X in Brazil.
I think it is. Yeah,
it is. So yes, Elon's getting himself into trouble again, but this time with Brazil's Supreme Court, and more specifically, Judge is it Alexandra de Moraes? Yeah. So X was originally ordered to kind of shut down accounts that were deemed harmful to the democratic process for the upcoming elections. Sounds reasonable-ish. Obviously, Elon's all about the free speech, isn't he? And he's
isn't he just being the Trump fan that he is?
Yeah, but he's refused to comply and refused to even appoint a legal representative for the case against him. To add to that, X also has $3 million in fines still outstanding in Brazil, which they have not paid. So, hats off to the judge. It seems he's had enough of Elon.
Well, that'll be a first, I guess.
Yeah. So he's kind of gone hardcore. So he basically he issued a 5-day deadline to the app stores, Apple, Google, to remove X from the platform in Brazil. He gave the ISPs 24 hours to block X. He also went and then made it a crime to use X via a VPN. Anyone caught accessing X on the VPN could face a daily fine of 50,000 Brazilian real, which is around just under $9,000, isn't it? And he then went and froze the Brazilian bank accounts of SpaceX, SpaceX, their Starlink internet service provider, and basically try and put pressure on Musk to comply with the court order.
Well, Starlink, I mean, originally Starlink said they wouldn't comply, would they?
They did. They said they would not comply. Musk called freezing the accounts illegal. Basically, he'd refused to block X on Starlink, though apparently he's changed his mind just recently.
Is that because somebody's lent on him, or do you think that's because...
I suspect there were... maybe the judge told him what's coming next.
If you ever want to come here,
Exactly. Yeah. So that was pretty hardcore. But obviously, X is still banned. They still haven't resolved that aspect of it, and we'll see how that one plays out in the coming weeks. But it was interesting to read.
So they are now going to block it, though, aren't they? Then
Yeah. So Starlink, everyone else blocked it immediately. Starlink are now blocking
X. The irony of having your own service block your own service.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I did a bit of research there. They were saying there's about 250,000 Starlink customers in Brazil. Which, actually, let's be honest, Starlink is an absolutely perfect solution for a country like Brazil because of the amount
in one of the big cities.
That's what I mean. It's very rural in places, isn't it? You know, they have great internet access. It's just it's a perfect solution. And let's be honest, forget the political side of it. It works. It works really well. So to do this, it's pretty dodgy. I mean, the fact that you're saying that they were if they didn't block it, they were going to revoke their licenses. They could seize equipment. I mean, Christ Almighty, that could have been a real messy end.
The judge just went for the knees, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think the problem is nobody else is doing that.
Yeah, the amount of court cases and stuff that X and Elon and all that are up with and have lost and have fines still to pay, they're just not doing it. It was about time someone took him out of the knees.
Yeah, and do you know what? Absolutely, it needed to be done. It needed to be done, and it needed to be done sooner. And there. I mean, I wasn't too sure because there was talk that that people wouldn't be. You weren't going to get fined for using a VPN, but it turns out people have been fined, haven't they? I've seen some videos again on X, ironically, of sort of streamers that have been kind of arrested mid-stream. There's been a few videos. Again, can't quote on the accuracy of them. But yeah, just
it's done wonders for Blue Sky.
Well,
I think they got 2 or 3 million new people in like 24 hours.
I was talking to somebody else about this the other day, right? About the whole X Twitter thing, and people going, "Oh, I'm going to leave it." It was, Musk and terrible, and the majority of people haven't left.
No,
the majority of people haven't left. But what really annoys me, and I think I've said this before, is you see a post and you click on it, and you've got to scroll through 10 million
adverts before you get to an actual human response.
Yeah, you're like and it's just like, what is this? And that For You and Following tab at the top is like, if you don't click on, I don't really want to click on the Following tab, the For You tab, excuse me, because that just usually gives like random stuff. But then I find stuff in there like, oh, I've not seen that account, or that account's posted something really interesting. But it's just so difficult to try and get any decent information, and
it's
I kind of
massively downhill as a user experience.
Yeah, I don't. It's terrible. I don't really want to leave, but on the other hand,
but
I kind of
I tried
feel
the competition or the competitors or the alternatives and haven't been massively engaged. I was one of the early access to Blue Sky.
Yeah, you were. Yeah,
I've been a Mastodon, but nothing really clicked. I didn't find myself going back there.
No, same. I'm struggling, to find, but I can't. I don't want to get off it. I know it's a bit like it's a bit like a ride at the fairground that's terrible, but you just find yourself keep coming back.
I find myself doom scrolling on it, and I think,
that's
what am I
the
doing?
problem.
What am I doing? Why am I on here?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, it's probably unhealthy, but I still find that there are some good people on there that I like to follow.
Maybe I need to limit myself with screen time.
Some of the intelligence people who do OPSEC and stuff like that are really like following.
Yes, me too. Yeah, it's a lot of what my feed is. Yeah, it's some really good stuff there.
But as you say, to get through the crud, as it were, that's the hardest part.
Yep.
Oh, dear. I'm sure at some point there will be a better solution. Well, let's move on then. And let's talk about Bluetooth 6. I mean, I know that this is the most amazing thing you've heard all week, and you'll be like, why? That's the one thing I wanted to hear all week was Bluetooth 6. But there are some interesting things coming out there with the latest iteration of Bluetooth 6, which will show up on devices very soon and could bring some improvements to particularly the Apple Find My network.
Well, yeah, definitely. To the network, I don't think this really benefits Apple that much, but because they already have other technology. But yeah, Bluetooth 6 has bringing out a new technology called Bluetooth channel sounding. Basically, it's their implementation of ultra wideband. It kind of provides that true distance awareness, apparently down to the centimeter level accuracy over considerable distances. So obviously, Apple uses Bluetooth and ultra wideband technology, don't they, for their Find My in their iPhone, Apple Watch, and more specifically the AirTags. So they use the ultra wideband for the precision part, but I think it could benefit the Find My network generally, couldn't it? Because a lot of third parties don't have the ultra wideband tech in their Find My compatible trackers, do they? They just use Bluetooth. So be able to get that kind of Bluetooth 6 stuff in there now and make a cheaper AirTag, or basically making every AirTag as trackable as the ultra wideband stuff, I think will definitely benefit the network.
I think so, and I think your point there's a good one. You're right. The Apple thing on the ultra wideband is what sets it apart, isn't it? And gives it that capability. And you absolutely spot the money. Not everybody has that, but
No,
to
I've got several that don't. I mean, it gets me to general area, but it's not like here's the arrow and points exactly to it like the Apple AirTags.
no, and that's brilliant. I love that feature. That is, it's a super helpful feature. But it would be good. You're right. If that became a standardized capability, and I don't mean the Apple user experience, but I mean the proximity accuracy, that would be good. That would be something I think we could really get with. Obviously, there's no guarantee Apple are going to pick this up. I mean, what was I couldn't find what was the release date for this? Is it?
Oh, I don't know. Probably won't be till next year or a year after, I imagine, before
Yeah,
we start seeing devices.
Yeah, so Apple, realistically, we may see this in this iPhone 17, possibly more like the 18, and obviously any other manufacturer's devices that come out at that time. And again, it proves that Apple clearly are slightly ahead of the pack because of that ultra wideband chip.
But I can see it bringing down costs.
Yeah, perhaps you're right. Definitely.
Not that the AirTags are ridiculously expensive, but there's still a premium paid for them.
No, I'm thinking of buying some more actually.
I was just looking at a 4-pack the other day. I was like, oh, still £100.
Yeah, well, but when did Apple ever reduce costs?
No, I know. It's just like I'm basically paying £100 for 4 keyrings.
Yeah, but I
just
agree
getting over that mental block.
There is that mental block, and I think I've got one of my keys. I've got one on, I've got one in my car keys, my wife's car keys. Got one in my rucksack. I've got one in my luggage.
Our kids are getting old enough now, at least the older two, to have keys to the front door.
Yeah, and you're right. And
maybe my wife, for that might be useful.
My wife saw something funny good the other day when you on holiday. It was a key ring with an AirTag in it that they clipped onto their child's clothes.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like on a like as literally a key ring around a belt mount or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought actually that's not a bad idea for small children.
People put it on their dogs all the time, don't they? They put it on the dog collars and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess it's cheaper than buying one of those dog tracking
apps the GPS ones that has a subscription and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not on it, but no. But there you go. So Bluetooth 6. I know that was the highlight of your week. It definitely was the highlight of ours. Anyway, so that's probably a good place for us too. And right then, let's talk about what we've got NVIDIA this week. NVIDIA's Rumour this week, excuse me, which is again another set of graphics cards that I'm never going to be able to afford.
Well, so the rumor came out the other day, and I was like, allegedly that the RTX 5080 and 59 could be launched as soon as this month. I got a little excited, thinking I maybe upgrade my 3090, but
what?
I know. Well, I'm upgrading the rest of the machine, so I was like, let's have a look. But yeah, sadly, there was an error in translation.
I like that. Error in translation.
I don't know if they use Google Translate or what, but it was from a Chinese tech site called BenchLife, and it was written in traditional Chinese, saying that it would launch this month. The correct translation should say that the 5080 and the 5090 should have their designs finalized in September. So not likely to be out this month though. But if they are finalizing the designs, it probably can't be too long. I suspect by the end of the year or early next year.
How long have the 4090s been out for?
I don't know. I reckon it's got to be a year and a half, maybe 2 years. RTX 49. Let's have a look. Where did that come?
Because I couldn't remember when I was looking at this story. I was like, I couldn't remember how long they've been out for.
Release date. October 2022. So 2 years ago. Just 2 years. 2 years. Yeah. So maybe we might see something in October or November about a 5000 series.
I mean, again, this is at least the plus side here is that there probably will be more stock than there were of the 40 series.
I hope so.
But again,
it's
another graphics card.
So maybe not.
Yeah, but given the cost of it, I probably can't afford it anyway.
No, I did look up the price of what maybe a 4080 Super was the other day, and that was £1,000, and I was like, wow.
I would be tempted by a 4070 maybe.
But coming from a 3090.
Yeah, but
there's much in it. I certainly won't get the 24 gig of VRAM, which DCS loves.
I mean, obviously, I'm not on that.
3070 or is it a 3070 Ti? 3070. So that would be a great upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, you're right. That would be a huge leap upgrade, and my DCS experience would be improved massively.
Yeah.
But would I get bottleneck? I don't know. I probably wouldn't get. I'd get bottleneck by my RAM now.
Would you? I'm sure I looked at reviews. You've got the. Are you on 12th or the 13th gen Intel?
I'm 13 gen, but I got DDR4. Don't forget.
Yeah, that's when they brought out. You could have DDR4 or DDR5.
Yeah.
Which you chose. I'm sure I didn't see a huge amount of difference.
So for me, it might be worth waiting for the 50 series.
Yeah.
And going up to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at that point, even a 5060 or 5070 might be better than the 3070 you've got. I'd be interested to see how that lands.
That might land. But again, I mean, that's probably going to be, 600, 700 minimum, isn't it?
Yeah, I imagine so.
Not cheap. That's the problem.
The problem is the 3070 came out and they were a decent price.
They were.
20 series were a rip-off. The 30 series, if you can get hold of them at retail price, were really well priced for what you got. And then the 4000 series came out and they were ridiculous. And still are.
And then we got ourselves into a situation now where we're like, what do we do?
No, exactly. I mean, we talked before about the new Ryzens, didn't we? In the
I was going to say
series, they brought out 2 months. I went to upgrade to just do the CPU and wait a couple more years, and then couldn't get hold of the CPUs anymore, so I brought a new motherboard, CPU, and RAM.
I mean, is it time to go? AMD GPU?
I don't know. GPU, I don't think so. CPU, yes. I know you went Intel. You did look at AMD, but you went Intel in the end.
I know, and do you know what? I know I regret it, but I think now in hindsight, which is always 2020, of course, isn't it?
We didn't know whatever this thing with Intel was going to happen, did we?
No. So I think in hindsight, I probably should have gone AMD. But the machine's good. It plays well.
Yep.
I'm interested to see what it's going to be like when we get Flight Sim 2024 in a couple of months.
Yep.
How that pans out. But DCS plays well. I just need better VR.
That's not a CPU. That's a GPU problem,
GPU.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and DCS, as we know, it's got better. Don't get me wrong, it's got better, but it is not an optimized game.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It will eat every bit of RAM, VRAM, or normal RAM you throw at it.
I don't think they'll ever release a version that they're like, this is working perfectly, and they're always refining it, aren't they? So.
The problem is that it's based on such old, it's 20-year-old technology. They've been replacing bits by bits. I think they'd have to just start again.
Yeah, and I can't see them doing that because the development resources,
models and stuff like that, and the flight.
Yeah, and also huge. to pull the devs off that are working now, and to dump them on that, it's just it's not going to happen.
I mean, DCS obviously do the early access, and then it takes years for them to actually finish the module, doesn't it? It's not like early access on Steam where you get it 6 months later. It's years and years if they ever finish it.
That's a whole different problem for another day.
I'll still buy the Eurofighter Typhoon if it comes out on early access.
Oh God, yeah, won't we all?
Day one be buying that one.
But saying that though, I still love playing my F-18. I don't know whether or not I've got the energy to learn a new module because muscle memory on the F-18's going.
It has to be a special module for that.
A special module, one that I can invest my time into. I mean, I've got the F-15, excuse me. The full fidelity module of that, and
you got the 14.
Pardon?
And you got the 14.
Oh yeah, the 14. Yeah, the 14's more of a kind of a if you had a
fantasies.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the way I look at the F-14, right, is imagine if you were rich enough to own, your daily driver car, which let's call it the BMW, which is the F-18, that does everything you need to do, works well, drive it. The F-14 is the old classic convertible I keep in the garage, for those nice days where I want to take out for a little poodle around the country lanes. It's good, but it's had its day. And it hasn't got all the bells and whistles that the BMW has,
Yes.
That's kind of how I look at the F-14. And then we've got the concept car, which is the F-15, which is like, could run rings around the boat if I could work out how to control it properly. So, but yeah, I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's probably a good place for us to wrap up for today then. We'll be back next week with episode 181, which is going to be our complete roundup of the Apple Glow Time event. So please check in next week for that, where we will be telling you whether or not we have pre-ordered and what we've pre-ordered. Or maybe we haven't pre-ordered. Maybe we're so disappointed that we won't be doing it, though I don't think that's going to happen, including Apple Watch orders and, of course, any other surprise announcements from that week. here's me crossing my fingers for an M4 MacBook Pro. So you can find us still on, of course, on X. We're also across wherever you get your podcasts from, including YouTube at Weekly Tech Rants, and search for us there. So I've been Jay.
I've been Karl. Have a good one all.